My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
My social security number, 552.
What's your address?
My address should be, my address. 350 North Glendale Avenue, Suite B as in boy, number 148. That's Glendale, California. That is an old address that I am no longer associated with. That's an old address, though, yeah.
And is your birthday 11/14/1983?
Correct.
Okay. So it does appear that somebody does have your information, and they did make an application. Give me just a moment, and I will help you on my end. On our end is we'll take that I'm going to ask you some questions. We'll get that everything taken, and we'll submit it, and then we're going to flag the application and your information on our end, so that if we ever get anything with that again, nothing will happen with it. And then we'll request that credit inquiry be removed. And so tell me again what your valid address is.
My valid address. So my question, first of all, can I find out who it is that submitted some application with you guys? This is DSRN National Bank, correct?
I mean, as far as we know, it was you because it's all your information. But you're saying it wasn't you, so we're going to go back and say she never applied for this. As far as figuring out who it was, no.
Okay, so you're telling me I can't find out. I need to know when was this, what was it that was applied for? What was the application for?
It was applied, a Valero credit card was applied for yesterday.
Oh, really? And
all of your information.
And you should be able to identify where that application was submitted, right? Where
it was done online, so there's no telling.
It was done online, but you should be able to identify an IP address, a location, right? A city.
I would have no idea. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so I'm requesting an investigation because where I was yesterday,
I would have to get law enforcement to look into it because it's far.
That's laughable. They're monitoring. Go ahead.
Somebody has your information. So if they applied with us, they may apply with other people. So the steps that you take are you notify the credit bureaus that somebody's got your information. They can assist you with how to protect your credit file.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as you can try to file a police report, you know, we did not approve this application. We rejected it. So, but we're going to remove the inquiry. And then as far as somebody figuring out who's done this with your information, that is a whole other realm.
Very interesting. So you're not able to find out the name of the person that submitted an application for a Valero account yesterday?
No, because all the information that we have is your information.
So it was submitted for Erica Spencer?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's okay.
So somebody has your name, your social,
Mm-hmm.
this old address of yours,
Mm-hmm.
your date of birth. They
Mm-hmm.
have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're the ones that are making these applications. They have that information. So when they submit it, it looks like it's you.
Okay, and you're telling me you don't have access where you're at as a DSRM employee to let me know what at least city or date or state it was submitted in. It was submitted in California?
It was submitted online, so it
Oh.
from anywhere.
Okay, it was online. Got it. Okay. Okay. All right, so yeah, what process do I need to go by? Because that was not me. What do I need to do with you in order to have this inquiry removed off of my credit? And then I'm just going to make sure I document all of the precipitating damages. What do I need to do?
Okay, so I need your valid address.
Okay, my updated address is the one I just recited to you. It's 350 North Glendale Avenue. That's Suite B as in boy, number 148. That's Glendale, California, 91206.
And a good phone number if we need to contact you about anything.
The number that I'm calling on, I guess you don't have caller ID?
So 818-961-7708.
Correct, yeah.
And I'm showing this inquiry was made.
Yeah, so no information about even a phone number that was added to that application?
The phone number that they added was 562-384-8761.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea who that is. It's the people of the state, I'll tell you that. All right. What else information can I have access to with regard to this application? Because I have my own pending litigation, literally against the state, and it is related to my personal information, what should be my private information, and these are damages that are directly related and reasonably foreseeable to result from my pending litigation against the state. How can I get access to like this application, this situation?
Basically, the application was made yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We rejected the application. The address that was used was that former address. They have everything else, your social, your date of birth. I gave you the phone number. It was done online. And actually, it was done during probably a cell phone.
Do you have a time frame?
3:49 yesterday.
Okay. And yesterday was March 21st, 2024. Okay.
So what you want to do after we get off the phone is you want to call the credit bureaus and tell them somebody's applying for accounts in your name. And they will tell you how they can assist you as far as protecting your credit file. And then as far as identity theft, you would just follow up with law enforcement.
Okay, thank you for that information. Okay, did you need any more information from me? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, go ahead. Okay, this is DSRM National Bank, and this is a matter of documentation with regard to the public entity that is monitoring. And the same way that I am as graphic, the reason why I use such graphic language is because the world, the people, not the people of the state, but excuse me, people that are listening, as I am not only documenting, I am literally educating about the criminal act of a public entity that's monitoring and who it is monitoring you in concert with, the people of the state. So I want to be clear, the people of the state in the same way that they're...
What I'm going to do is flag the information on our side, have the credit file, the credit inquiry removed, update everything to show that you called, you did not make this application. Do you have any other questions about this today?
I honestly, thank you, but what I would like is something that I can hold on to as a matter of documentation, maybe some sort of email about this application, this information, something that you can give me that I can hold on to.
The best thing that you can do is when you get a hold of the credit bureaus and tell them and have them protect your account, is you can have them provide you with any inquiries and credit pulls that were made on your account, on your information.
Okay, and I can't get anything from you, DSRM, National Bank.
You're going to get a letter from us in the mail that basically says we rejected your application.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting at, just to be honest with you, is I want the details of this application, and I would like to get it from you guys. That's really what I'm seeking. So, I mean, I know you told me, but I want something, I want it, like, sent to me in an email. I want the documentation. I need it, you know?
I mean, there's nothing, because we didn't, it's an online application. We're going to send the rejection letter.
Where are you going to send the rejection letter? To my address, right?
Well, no, it's going to go to the one on file. Like, are you having mail forwarded or anything?
No, so it's going to go to that 408 address. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I mean, and the only thing the letter's going to say, because when we send you something out, it's basically to say if you have any questions, contact the credit bureau.
I need is there any way that you can forward me the rejection letter?
I don't have it. There's nothing, because we've got to determine it's fraud, which takes a second.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The best thing to do is get a hold of the credit bureaus, and they can give you everything that you need as far as what's been going on with your credit file and what's been told and what's been looked at and everything. So they do it with one, they may have done it with others you don't know about yet, and that way you get all the information at one time. Because there's no way for me to send you something that says the information I'm giving you over the phone. Quite honestly, most of the agents won't give it to you. I'm telling you it was done online. It was probably done by a cell phone, like an app.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I gave you the phone number that they provided. You know, I bet you if you call that number, it's not going to work.
I bet you too. I agree with you.
Okay. So, I mean, like all of it, the only information that is correct is the information that is your information that they stole. Everything else is going to be no good anyway.
Oh, well, no, it is good. It's for purposes of what I have pending litigation, it is good, and that's what I'm telling you. It is. The fact that it's
I don't have, there's nothing else for me to say. I gave you the phone number.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you the address that they used. It won't be valid either.
Please provide the address, please.
All right, so it's going to be RobbieAlvarado51@gmail.com.
RobbieAlvarado@gmail.com.
RobbieAlvarado51@gmail.com.
RobbieAlvarado@gmail.com. That's an email address provided?
You're not, it's RobbieAlvarado51@gmail.com.
Okay, and that's an email address, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, RobbieAlvarado51@gmail.com. Okay.
And you'll get a letter once we remove the inquiry from your credit file.
Okay, you can't email me a letter?
No.
Okay.
It'll go in the mail.
Okay. Okay, I just want to find and call out and get as much information, I just wanted to call and find out as much information as I can about this fraudulent transaction. And definitely not me. And where I was at yesterday is a matter of documentation, and that's readily established. And but I also need to find out as much information about this as much as I can. So if you're telling me that you can't give me anything else, if you're telling me you can't tell me absolutely anything else,
I mean, I've told you everything that's on here. That's enough for me to tell. Any other information, you need to call the credit bureau.
okay.
You need to get your credit file protected and find out what they have, because they probably have more information than I do.
Right. No, I'm going to handle that angle. I just want to make sure I contact you and get as much. I just want to squeeze as much out of you as I can. If you don't, to be honest with you, I appreciate
Clearly,
it.
yeah.
I appreciate it. Okay.
All right. Okay, so let me get this submitted for you, and we'll get it taken care of on our end, okay?
Okay. And I'm sorry. What is your name again?
My name's Michelle.
Okay. Thank you for your help, Michelle.
All right, have a great day.
All right. That is 1-800-333-3560. This is DSRM National Bank, and I called because they are on my credit generated today. I got an alert from Credit Karma, and it's about a hard inquiry on my credit. So these are damages that I'm suffering while an entity is monitoring. Let me be clear, this is a fallacy, another illusion that we are under with regard, and by we I mean American citizens, that you have actually any privacy, that your so-called private information is not already known by an entity and by an entity that's monitoring. So I just want to be clear about what it is that you just witnessed. And this is not the first item of documentation where the entity is engaged in providing access, and it's something that's reasonably foreseeable to result from an entity that's monitoring you. And I believe I documented this in 2021. This was around the time where I was working at third-party facilitating venue, Country Village Apartments, through a contracting agency. And so they provided payment on a debit card or like a prepaid credit card type, and they would put your paycheck on that card. And on that card, I documented this because I maintained a podcast, and I recorded this. This is documentation. These are damages that the entity is liable for. Okay, and it's also a crime. Understand, the entity is engaged in fraud. The entity is engaged in identity theft. The entity is engaged in the entity is responsible civilly for all damages that are directly and reasonably foreseeable to result from the engagement in such crimes. An entity that's monitoring, so in the same way that they are aware of the fact that the moment when I pull my panties down, understand what is part of that. As I'm reciting my social security number, I'm being monitored. It's a matter of public information. When the entity broke into my vehicle and took my social security card, that was the entity that has my social security card that broke in and damaged my personal property. That was the entity that I had to go to, referencing State Farm, in order to have them, through my policy that I'm paid. State Farm is the entity. Okay. So I just want to be clear. In addition to the credit bureaus, so I just want you to understand the bigger picture. Experian is a facilitating venue in Orange County. Okay. It's off of the 55 freeway. If I recollect correctly, I lived in Orange County. Experian maintains a venue. California is monitoring. These credit bureaus are facilitating venues. This is an ongoing illusion that you actually have privacy with regard to the credit bureaus being separate from what's going. You're talking about an illusion when you're talking about contact the law enforcement agency. They are stalking me, flying over and around me in circles. They're monitoring me. They're threatening my life on an ongoing basis, and you're told to, as a matter of what it is that you're subject to, as though all of these things are separate. Some stranger stole your identity. No, actually, you're being monitored by the state. The people of the state are in the shoes of the government. So this is somebody that is targeting you, that has your private information, but you are under the impression, again, that we are, I'll give you another example, these so-called calls that you get from all of these random phone numbers. They refer to them as, I forget what they refer to them as, but getting, when they're creditors, people that are marketing phone calls, no. Third-party group stalkers have your information, have your phone number, and they are calling you from fake numbers, from their number. It's a means of monitoring you. This is something else that I want to bring to the attention. An entity that is monitoring you, that's not about marketing. This is largely related to an entity that is group stalking and monitoring you. That's something else that's just another example that I want to bring to your attention. This right here is documentation of the entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. The theft of my personal information is that which is occurring by the entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. Every time that I get on my phone and I check my bank account, the entity knows exactly how much money is in my account. They're monitoring on my phone. All right, they're engaged in group stalking with the state. That's stalking by helicopter and in police, fire, and ambulance vehicles. They're group stalking. They know what I'm talking about now. They know when I'm pulling my panties down. They know when I'm getting on my phone and looking at the balances on my credit card, when I'm paying for my groceries delivered, how much I was charged. They know exactly, the entity is the one that stole my social security number. When I go through the social security office, it's a facilitating venue and they're monitoring. All right, and that's also a matter of direct documentation. The Social Security office that I went to on Hope Boulevard in Ontario, the entity was rising and setting the light source over there in Ontario. It was adjacent to the Mayfair Inn where the entity was engaged in P.O.C. where I documented. The Social Security office is next door. They're monitoring. Okay, it's a facilitating venue. I just want you to understand the bigger picture. The credit bureaus, the Social Security offices, the law enforcement agencies, they're monitoring. Okay, and this is all not in any way separate. It's all related. Okay, and this is documentation because I'm going to prosecute this entity. So you have a third-party group stalker and or state actor actually, because it could be either or. You've got some minions that are with the police department, fully capable of engaging in the same exact act. You're talking about an entity that's monitoring. Okay, and they have access to my information because your information is actually not private. This is a fallacy. It's all a fallacy. The information has been used and it's been brought to my attention, but I want to be clear, even the entity is aware of the fact that I would be alerted to it. These are things that are occurring, and it's reasonable that the entity engages in such acts just to harass you. I'm using everything because also you need to be informed about the ways in which, and that which is reasonably foreseeable to result from an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is occurring in this country. So you're looking at things such as identity theft. Your identity is not a matter of private information. That's a fallacy, okay? Every day people are monitoring you and have your information. Okay, headline, okay, news headline. Okay, so just so that you know that. And so you're talking about what is not an anomaly, what is not in any way separate. The entity is monitoring right now. The law enforcement agency that I'm being encouraged to contact is group stalking and monitoring me right now. Okay, so understand that. And so that is literally laughable. And you're also understanding how you are deprived of any ability to recover, of any ability to enforce your rights where an entity is monitoring and group stalking you. This is directly relevant to the prosecution of the state. So I want to document this. They are fully in possession of my address, the old address, my social security number, even before stealing my social security card. Let's be clear, okay? The entity damaged my personal property and stole what they already have knowledge of. They knew that there was no money in my car. They knew that the purse was hidden underneath the, because you couldn't see my purse in my vehicle. And I'm referencing at third-party facilitating venue Planet Fitness, which I'm going to prosecute them because they represent the people of the state with the deepest pockets, okay? But let me be clear, all the little Mexican restaurants, all the little no-name AutoZone adjacent to them, those are all third-party facilitating venues. They were monitoring as well. Planet Fitness has the deepest pockets. Planet Fitness is going to serve as a means of making an example out of them. These are the results that are tied to engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, and the targeted individual, it behooves them to take advantage of that because all of an entity is monitoring you. So you choose the deepest pockets to dip into with regard to enforcing your rights civilly and criminally. And Planet Fitness fits the bill. I was working out at Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness was monitoring while I'm inside of the gym, while I am outside walking in relevant position. They're monitoring. They're in the shoes of the government going under the name of Planet Fitness. They are monitoring while the entity was surrounding me in that parking lot, blinking their hazards, light activity, present on behalf of the state, the same corrupt law enforcement agency. They were monitoring, and then they broke into my personal property. So all I did was document everybody in relevant position, including Planet Fitness. But do not be mistaken. Everybody in relevant, the whole entity is monitoring me. Who's surrounding me with light activity? Who's in the immediate vicinity? Who has the deepest pockets? That has to do with how I'm going to execute civilly and criminally. Okay, and that's just part of being engaged in the state's criminal pattern of conduct. Maybe you shouldn't do that. especially if you don't want to be publicized as a sex offender and engaged in terrorism, because that's exactly what Planet Fitness is tethered to, because that's exactly what they're doing. That's what federal group stalking monitoring is. If you did not know, that's exactly what it is. It's how it's going to be treated, and that's how you will be treated under the law. So the entity engages in breaking in my property, my personal property, and that's documented. They stole my social security card. It wasn't a mystery before they broke into my car. Okay, my purse was hidden underneath the windshield cover. I took a picture of it. You couldn't see my purse there. The entity knows where my purse is at. The entity knows that there was nothing in my purse. All right, this was an act of terrorism, of harassment by an entity that I'm documenting, an entity that is envious. I'll just be honest with you. The fact that I'm going to the gym, you're talking about what compels an entity to even target. You're talking about demon possession. All right, so I'm not even going to get into all of the mental issues, psychological, emotional behind targeting an American citizen for no legitimate purpose, and even as a government, okay? You're talking about literally a population of disturbed individuals who are collectively engaging in targeting. One, yes, it is related to demon possession. That demon possession has very real effects on people who are just discontented with themselves, but they're engaging in criminal conduct. So I care not about what your emotional dysfunction is. You're engaged in criminal conduct on behalf of the government, and I'm going to prosecute you for that. And everything that's reasonably foreseeable to precipitate from that, you're liable for. The entity is monitoring. The entity has engaged in another violation of my rights. There is no privacy. This is speaking to the fallacy that you have private information. I am being targeted by the entity, which I have ongoing evidence of. But this is speaking to the reality based on the pattern of conduct. You're understanding what is actually going on in the country. We're under the false idea that we have privacy in this country. That's not true. It's not true at all. You may not be aware of the fact that you're being monitored. You may not be aware of the fact, maybe you're, I just want to be clear, you may not be a subject of group stalking per se, but the reality of what's going on with our personal information, it's not private. It's all being shared. It's a matter of public information, what your so-called personal private information is. And that's just known by the specific environment. It's known by what the government is engaging in. And I'm revealing to you what the government is engaging in. It is the pattern of conduct. This entity that's engaged in that is targeting me, okay? They're engaged in a crime against me. And in the U.S., it is a crime that the government is doing it because we're supposed to have privacy. That's the difference. That's what makes us, and I mean us, I mean the United States, we're distinct from other countries because this country and its hypocrisy, but you can, and I don't want to go against it because I actually studied political science, I studied law because I wholeheartedly believed in, the foundation and the founding principles of this country. But this is the reality. The people that are in positions of government, positions of authority, this is hypocrisy, okay? And so the hypocrisy, those that are in positions of leadership in this country, we are actually, you're talking about understanding what is the hypocrisy. We have these laws, but they're actually not being complied with by our government. Okay, so that's an unfathomable level, unprecedented hypocrisy. And actually, it's criminal, okay? Where federal group stalking monitoring is underway. So anyway, I'm going to upload this. This is not the only basis of damages where the entity that's monitoring is engaged in theft of my personal property. The entity stole money, okay, and you're talking about, I was making a measly little $500, it was like a $500 paycheck, nothing, okay? And they stole money off of and by they, I mean the entity having access to my credit card. Every time you make a phone call and you're entering in your PIN number, you're entering in your access code for your bank account, you're telling them what's your address, all that's it's public information. In the same way that they are stalking with activity because they know exactly what you're doing as you're doing it. They're monitoring with communication devices. They're stalking in helicopters and airplanes as I'm uploading information to the internet. Understand what they're aware of. They're monitoring, okay? The demon possessed that are targeting are monitoring. And this same entity engages in what we're referring to as identity theft, because it's under the false pretense that some stranger that you don't know. That's not true. You're being monitored, okay? It's public information. You don't have the privacy that you think you have. And by virtue of what is the ongoing case against the state, this is the same exact entity, okay? Like I said, the group stalker that lives up on the hillside, whose property is covered in engineered light, who's in relevant position to me while the entity is documenting and maintaining a light source, who's in relevant position while the entity is group stalking by fire plane and ambulance and by helicopter, that group stalker on the hillside, I don't need to know their name. They're in relevant position. They're being documented on an ongoing basis. And it's the same thing with regard to all of the ways in which that is affecting your life, and it's reasonably foreseeable to be the case where an entity is monitoring you. Okay, it's 6:50 a.m. It's March 22nd, 2024, and this again is relevant to the entity that is a hard inquiry generated on my credit report this morning, and so I responded to it as soon as I found it. This email was sent to me today. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, today. Hold on, let me correct myself. 17 hours ago. So this was yesterday afternoon, it looks like. So I'm checking my email this morning. It was sent to me yesterday afternoon at 1:49 p.m. Credit Karma informing me about a credit inquiry that I did not submit. Where I was yesterday at 3:49 p.m. was at work being subject to federal group stalking and monitoring, which is an ongoing ongoing crime that I'm documenting. So where I was at and what I was doing is a matter of record. And the entity, and I just want to be clear, the entity is going to be civilly and criminally liable for it. This is also to serve as education for the public. Identity theft, fraud. These are not occurring from some, strangers that you don't know. No, your private information is not so private. It's not as private as you think it is. All right. So while the entity is engaged in committing a crime against me, it's going to be held liable for all of that which is foreseeably to result from that crime that they are engaged in to date. Okay. Again, it's 6:51 a.m. on March 22nd, 2024, and this is P.O.C.